It's week 2 from the stands, call for fans from fans. I'm Will Rainier. Hey, let's go around the horn and see out with us tonight. JJ, start us off.
Hey, I'm JJ Apostolico. I am from Nashville, Pennsylvania, as a college side. It's gonna be a good night. Can't wait to talk some football.
I'm Bo Gorham. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, born and raised, built by Bama, as you know, and sitting here drinking a little Line and Klugel Summer Shandy. It's going to be a good night. Let's talk some football.
Yeah, very nice. I'm Will Rainier, under duress here in Austin, Texas, an Oklahoma State fan. Texas did finally pass beer to go laws, so I've got the first exclusive beer sold at the Austin Beer Works Brewery. So I'm going to be drinking that one tonight with you guys as we talk some college football. Hey, week 1 is in the books. I don't know what's worse, the human preseason polls or the week 1 computer polls, but what do you think?
I mean, honest to God, they're both pretty bad. You look at the human polls, you got Florida dropping 3 just from maybe not playing week 1. I mean, obviously, wasn't the best showing week 0, but I mean, week 1, everybody plays.
It's like everybody
doesn't play.
Yeah, everybody forgot about them. They're like, oh, they didn't play this week. It's fine.
Yeah, dropping 3 spots. I mean, that's fine. But if you look at the computer polls too, I mean, trying to do any sort of computer modeling with one data point is not going to help out. I mean, it's just not going to be.
I think my favorite one was Bill Connolly's. The SP had San Diego State as the 128th ranked offense. That's second to last for those of you guys keeping score at home, and the number 1 defense in the country out there in San Diego. So even my guys, the Oklahoma State Cowboys, the number 2 offense in the country and the 114th ranked defense, which, to be fair, is pretty on par for a Gundy team. But JJ, what stuck out to you?
It's both. I mean, in general, do we really need preseason polls? And I mean, in general, we kind of know who's good and who's not. On the Florida thing, I think if I was Florida, I feel a little discouraged about having moved up my game 0. Like, I feel like they got punished for playing in week 0 because they had the spotlight on them during their game with a little bit of rust. And there were plenty of teams that showed rust in week 1, but they didn't have the spotlight on them. I think they got a little bit of that. But computer polls are just as bad as the human polls, and another reason why people should just wait for the data points to come in. One example is my own Nittany Lions. I mean, we are on the positive side of it. You look at ESPN FPI. We are currently the outright favorite of Big Ten, which I have no problem with, except I know it's full of crap. I know it's not right. They have us as like 65% favorite at Ohio State at the end of the season. Ooh. And based on the last season, I don't think that's right.
You got to believe, man. You got to.
Well, after you lose 2 years in a row in heartbreaking fashion like we did, nothing is 5%. And all we did so far this year is beat up newly FCS Idaho. So it's way too early to start just pronouncing because we could put up 79 points on a shitty team that we're now the Big Ten power all of a sudden. I don't see it. It's just more players not quite ready to make their analysis.
Right.
Yeah, well, let's jump into week 2. We got the noon time slot coming up. Shots and chasers. JJ, shot.
For my shot, I definitely have the in-state game of Ohio State Cincinnati. A lot of really interesting storylines here on both sides, specifically with the Cincinnati head coach Luke Fickell. As everybody, he used to be the interim head coach at Ohio State when Jim Trust stepped down. And a lot of people thought that after Urban Meyer, after he got there, knew it wasn't going to be a forever thing. They thought Luke Fickell eventually going to be the guy.
Yeah, coach in waiting situation.
Yeah. And then 2 years ago, he jumped ship to Cincinnati, and rather than giving him a chance to interview for the job, they kind of made Ryan Day the new head coach in waiting. And you kind of have to wonder at the end of this week if Luke Fickell's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder.
Luke Fickell Luke hasn't done too bad for himself. I mean, he's taken a team that had back-to-back 4-8 seasons and won 11 games with them last year for just the 3rd time in school history. But even at an 18-point spread, a lot of people don't think that's. What do you think they're going to cover 18?
Yeah, I mean, for 18, I think Cincinnati will probably cover. I think it'll be a little bit closer. I think Cincinnati's got a pretty tough defense. And but I do think that Ohio State's got a lot in the tank. I think that they kind of showed they're ready to come out the gate fast, and they're going to kind of do a lot early on, and then maybe kind of lose a little bit of that momentum later. And I think that Cincinnati may be able to weather the storm and at least hold it within 18. I don't think Cincinnati's really got a chance in hell of winning the game, but I do think that they'll probably cover the spread.
What do you think? No chance in hell, JJ?
I give them a puncher's chance. Actually, I think that they've
punter's chance.
A puncher's chance. They've got a puncher's chance here. I think that you got to think about they've got a good second-year quarterback in Desmond Ridder. They've got a good defense under Luke Fickell, who everybody knows is a very good defensive mind. And they're going up against the Ohio State team, who has a quarterback in Justin Fields, who's obviously immensely talented. But he did definitely struggle a little bit with the offense in week one, especially after they got away from the scripted plays. After the first, few plays that they ran on offense, they went up 28-0 on Florida Atlantic. They looked like they were going to put up 70. And then after they started just settling into their offense, they didn't really have an answer for an anemic Florida Atlantic defense. They only put up 17 the rest of the way. So I think that if Cincinnati can weather the storm early, they'll definitely cover, and that they can keep this game competitive deep into this game, and give themselves a chance.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and make a hot take. I think Fickell will probably have 2 more years at Cincinnati, and then probably be looking at another big Power 5 job. I think that he's got the chops. I think he's done some amazing things with Cincinnati. I think that some people will be scouting for him. You've got Tennessee looking like a dumpster fire. You got a couple other teams who are kind of looking for another come up. What's their next move? I think he'll hit the coaching carousel pretty fast and be a hot commodity.
Wow, fire up your flight trackers there. Now we'll see what's coming in and out of Cincinnati. Bo, why don't you go ahead and take us into that noon time slot? What do you?
So for the chaser, I'm gonna go with the Nerd Bowl. We got Purdue and Vandy here.
Don't.
Yeah, they're pretty similar teams. It looks a lot like Purdue will probably do away with this one. It'll probably be pretty close. I think the spread's at 6.5, so I think Purdue will probably cover that. Purdue's a pretty solid team, and I think that they did pretty well. And Vandy just kind of looked like they got their, they looked like they got their head knocked in by Georgia last week. I just don't think that they'll be able to do it this year or do it this week. I think Purdue's got a lot really kind of going for him. So I think Purdue will probably cover the spread and probably win this pretty outright.
Yeah, these two teams have only met twice before. The last time was 77 years ago. And fun fact, Purdue has never scored a touchdown on Vanderbilt in their series history. JJ, you think this is the weakest?
Yeah, I definitely do. I think that Purdue is going to handle Vanderbilt very comfortably. I guess a bit of a hot take. I think that they're going to put up a lot of points in Vanderbilt, potentially beating them by more than Georgia did last week. So if Georgia beat Vanderbilt by 24 points last week, I think Purdue has the chance to beat them by about 4 touchdowns. I think that their offense is going to be that good this week. They're going to show that last week fluke playing up in the mountains in Nevada, and they kind of allowed Nevada to come back into the game late and in the game when you had guys like Rondale Moore on the sidelines sucking wind. Like they were really, really having a lot of problems late in the game up in that altitude.
Okay, rock on. So moving ahead, let's look at some of these players that may have had their Heisman moments there in week one. Looking at guys that if they make it to New York at the end of the year, we're going to be seeing their game one clips played right there in their highlight reel. JJ, who do you think had their Heisman moment in week one?
If I had to pick someone in week one, it has to be Jalen Hurts. I think it's pretty obvious, actually. He put up by far the best stat line of the week when he went up against Houston. He had the spotlight on him on Sunday night. No other games going on, and he puts in a performance where he completes 87% of his passes. He throws for over 300 yards, runs for 106 yards, and puts up 6 total touchdowns. Nobody else in the country put up any kind of numbers like that, regardless of the system he's playing in and what defense he's playing against. No one else is able to put up nearly those numbers. And it just kind of goes to the tradition of Oklahoma quarterbacks that thriving under Lincoln Riley. I think that Jalen Hurts really solidified himself as the favorite after week 1.
Yeah, did you guys see that? I think it was a tweet from CBS Sports saying something along. He had the best debut of any quarterback in the history of football for game 1. But Bo, that's not the case. That was not his day. There's kind of
umbrage with that statement.
Yeah, there's kind of a sordid history there with Bama and Jalen. And I got downvoted to hell for kind of rolling my eyes in the sun, talking about how I think Bama fans are kind of maybe too soft on Jalen. Why is that? Do you think that's an anomaly? Is that anecdotal, or do you think the fans really feel that way?
Yeah, I think that the fans really do feel that way. I think that, one of the things that is real apparent about Jalen Hurts is that he never really quit on Bama football. He stuck it out. He
transferred. How is that not quitting on Bama football?
He lost his job to Tua, and he's not beaten Tua back. There was never anybody, no doubt in anybody's mind that once Tua was in there, Tua was the guy.
Yes.
Saban knew it. The whole team knew it. Everybody who was watching the games knew it. But Jalen, to his credit, finished his year, finished his schooling at Alabama, and grad transferred over to Oklahoma. And honest to God, you can't. Look at the Georgia game. Look at the SEC championship where he comes in and puts in work in a game where Tua is looking like a human for once in the season. And Jalen comes in there and has to drag us out of the ditch just so that we can get by and win the championship. Come on. You can't tell me that that's not poetic, you can't tell me that he doesn't deserve everyone's just acclaim, it's less about, we hope that he's the best quarterback in the nation, but we hope that he does really damn well. And we hope that if somebody's got to go first round and it's got to be a quarterback, I sure hope it's Jalen.
So are you going to be singing the same tune in January when it's OU Alabama?
Now, here's the thing. We reach a line there. Yes, I want good things for Jalen, but I don't want him to beat Alabama. And if he does, honest to God, if it's him, then I'm not going to hate it if it's Jalen. But if it's anybody else, yeah, I'm going to be upset about that.
So of all the throws that he made, which one stuck out to you? Where do you think he had his Heisman moment in that Houston?
I think it has to be the deep ball to CeeDee Lamb. Every aspect that he had, every aspect of what made him great on Sunday was that throw. He was able to move around in the pocket, show some development there, showed off his legs a little bit, and showed off his arm, which he didn't do a ton of at Alabama. And it was one of the big things Tua did differently is he was able to throw the deep ball. But if Jalen Hurts is able to throw the deep ball to the same akin that, Kyler Murray and Mayfield, talking about another potential for Oklahoma.
Yeah, sure. A lot going on in that play. The Houston defense, the secondary obviously broke, and CeeDee Lamb made a good get open, but you got to put some on Jalen too for recognizing that and delivering that ball exactly where. So I'll agree with that. We actually have a clip for that, so let's check that out from the stands. You see Jalen kind of take the snap, scramble around, and hey, if you've got a clip from the stands, a highlights, go ahead and send that to us at fromthestandsmedia@gmail.com. Let us break it down, do the X's and O's on that, but you can just see Lamb just perfectly right in the hands for the touchdown there. So that's our Heisman moment of the week. A couple other guys had a few Heisman moments of them. Looking at talking about Etienne and Trevor Lawrence over there in Clemson. Did either one of those two, which one do you see as the front runner? If both of them are having Heisman candidates, did either one separate themselves in week 1?
Yeah, I think it's got to be Travis Etienne. He had the far superior week. He only touched the ball 13 times, and in those 13 touches, he picked up 208 yards, including 5 yards on the ground with 3 touchdowns. He had 17 yards per carry, which is just absurd against any Power 5 defense. To pick up 17 yards per carry is just absurd. And if he was in any kind of a real game, and he touches the ball 20 plus times, he could be looking at over 300 yards of offense. He looked like a guy that could carry an offense, and he won't even need. But if he can put up numbers like that with just 12 touches or 13 touches, it's going to be a really, really fun year. And he's
but Trevor Lawrence was really nothing to scoff at either. And that takes us to our 3:30 shot. Talk to me, Bo, about the quarterback battle there at the 3:30 shot with Anderson.
Yeah, Mond and Lawrence are both, I think, pretty solid quarterbacks. I remember last year, just watched this game the other day. Mond kind of ended up getting a little injured. Not so much injured, but he got knocked down. It looked like he was kind of dealing with some ankle stuff. But one thing that I think that A&M did really well during that game was just kind of keeping Clemson kind of on their heels. They played Lawrence for a smidge in that game. I mean, I don't think that Lawrence was kind of the guy at that point.
No, he wasn't.
I think that Clemson is going to have an opportunity to kind of pick them apart with Lawrence. I don't necessarily think that A&M's their secondary is not necessarily as tough as they're going to be. It's going to be necessary to hold back a Clemson offense. And I think that ATN will have a tougher time this week, and I think it's going to be a real test. If he can put up those sorts of numbers against an A&M defense, I think that he may just be a shoo-in at this point. I mean, his numbers were insane, but I mean, those sorts of numbers against an A&M defense, I think A&M's defense is pretty stout on the run at least, and it'll be difficult. I think it'll be difficult. I don't think he'll put up those sorts of numbers. I think he'll probably have a 150, 200-yard game, but I don't think that it'll be on 13 touches,
Yeah, who's your pick in that game?
I think that A&M gives them a tough time. I think Clemson's going to hold it and is ultimately going to pull it out. I don't think that A&M's going to pull the upset quite yet. Wow. I know Jimbo's a tough coach. He's the kind of guy who's going to kind of come out with some tricks and come out swinging. And I know that we've heard Paul Feinbaum say that Jimbo's a better coach than Dabo, but
that's a hot take machine right there.
That's a real hot take, but I don't necessarily know if I'm agreeing with Feinbaum there, but I do think A&M will give them fits.
A&M Clemson really saves this time slot. It's a tough time slot to pick games for. I even had A&M to win the SEC West. That was kind of my big hot take this season. I think this game is the best indication we're going to get early on. I don't think they go undefeated, but I think this game is going to tell us everything we need to know. But if this game gets out of hand early, JJ, why don't you give us what we have as the chaser in this time?
Like you said, Clemson A&M really saves this time slot. There's not a whole lot going on. What you can watch is as defending FCS champion North Dakota State, in-state rival North Dakota, who is they're going to be playing ESPN Plus, and if realistically this game's probably also going to get out of hand, but if both games are out of hand and you need to watch a blowout, tune into the North Dakota State game, because you're not going to get – a lot of people don't understand truly how dominant this North Dakota State squad is at the FCS. They are truly that good, and they're going. It's quite a sight to see, especially playing at the Fargo Dome. It is a very fun game to watch.
Yeah, definitely. I've got it. North Dakota State beating the brakes off in North Dakota, but it's a rivalry, and a lot of teams still don't know who they are or what they've got to work. North Dakota State hasn't lost a game since November 2017. I don't think North Dakota can pull it off, but I think it will be entertaining us. Hey, so we've got something special for you guys. We've got a new segment on the show. This one is called Reset the Game Clock. And here's what I'm going to give each of you guys a game from this week, and we're going to reset the game clock to a year in the past. And you're going to tell me what year you'd rather watch this. So, JJ, let's lead it off. We've got old Big 8 rivals, Nebraska and Colorado. So, for us.
So, I'm going to reset the game clock to 1990. This goes back to one of Colorado's best seasons. They were co-national champions that year. They did play Nebraska in that game, and they ended up beating them 27-12. But I would just like to go back to a time where both teams were great, and both teams just absolutely hated each other. Like, you kind of see on the college football subreddit, you kind of see fans that are kind of like, I know I'm supposed to hate Colorado. I know I'm supposed to hate Nebraska, but the hate's not really there anymore. I want to go back to a time and watch a game where you just have two teams that just absolutely hate each other. And that's exactly what you would have if you went back and watched that game.
Yeah, this is interesting because this is also in that 3:30 time slot. And outside of the A&M Clemson game, this is the most expensive get-in ticket of the week. On Vivid, they've got the get-in seats at $250. So there's a Big 8 to Big 10 Pac-12 inflation joke in there. But yeah, I think that's a great pick. That game back in 1990, Colorado scored 27 unanswered in the fourth quarter. They were down 12-0 and ended up winning 27-12. So that's all right, Bo, over to you now. We've got Army and Michigan. This is a game that I think is going to tell us a lot about Michigan. What do you got?
Yeah, I think we should reset the game clock back to 1985 for this game. We've got Harbaugh.
Were you
leading
born in
the-
1985?
Oh God, no! I was not alive at this point. I did not watch this game. I'm only 25, so that's a little bit before my time. But we've got Harbaugh leading the Wolverines to an 11-1-1 season that year.
Yeah, quarterback.
And
yeah.
their big tie was to Illinois, and Army turns around and beats Illinois in the Peach Bowl that year. Army finishes 9-3, which is a pretty solid. It's a pretty solid record for them. And I think that watching Harbaugh and all of his glory, especially because he's now touted as one of those top tier coaches, I think seeing him kind of do his thing at the quarterback position would have just been really cool to see.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm going to take Missouri and Virginia. I think both of us can agree these are kind of two down teams this year. So if we could please reset the game clock to 2007, and probably the most dynamic backfield you've seen in Pat White, Steve Slayton, Darius Raynaud on the outside. And then you go over to Missouri and you got Chase Daniels and Jeremy Maclin. I think the over-under for this game would probably be about $1.50. And so, my Big 12 heart just pitter-patters at the idea of that offense. Just a shootout all the way to 10 overtimes. I just want to see just this insane explosion of offense. So, give me 2007 Missouri versus West Virginia. Be a much better game that I think we're in store for this week.
I agree.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and we got another big game this week too. Bo, why don't you tell us about the 7:30 time?
Yeah, obviously you got to talk about LSU and Texas. It's going to be a big game. The SEC, and we're going to really find out what Texas is.
No, stop. This is awful. Like, JJ, come on, back me up here, man.
It's too much. All week. All we talk
I'm
about
sick
is
of
LSU.
it. Like, even watching ESPN, you've got the little ad in the corner. It just says LSU.
Back?
We have Schrodinger's Texas right now, who are equally back and not back at the exact same. Skip it. Give me a better game for our 7:30 shot. What do you?
We gotta watch Tennessee BYU, right? That's gotta be a watch.
The Poo Bowl.
Just for the memes alone. That's the meme to watch. Like you talk about the team that paid $900,000 to lose to Georgia State, and then you have the team that got absolutely smoked by their in-state rival and got called poo-poo by the starting quarterback by your rival. This is probably the two biggest memes of week one facing off. You're gonna have the losers probably be it's like the meme bowl champion. You gotta watch.
Oh yeah.
Loses and ends up being the laughing end of the joke here.
Yeah, if Tennessee loses this game, I think we're going to see Rocky Top go crumbling down. It's going to be,
it's
puking in.
At this point.
Ooh, that's solid. All right, Bo, redeem yourself right here. What's our cheer in the 7:30 slot?
I guess we'll have to go with the Miami UNC game.
Okay.
Miami looked pretty solid defensively in the week 0 game. They still have a lot of questions on the offense. Whether their quarterback can really step up and start making some of those tough decisions and really start moving the ball well. I think Miami will do it, but UNC is going to be a tough team to beat, in my opinion. I want Miami to do well because I like Miami as a team. But I just don't necessarily. It's going to be tough to watch if they lose this game.
Yeah, watching that Florida game, I don't think the quarterback was the issue there. I think it was really was getting just embarrassed by the Florida defensive line. That poor Jaron Williams just didn't have time, and even when he was getting time, that's when we saw the inexperience. JJ, what's your take on that?
Yeah, you got to watch that game just to watch Mac Brown. I mean, you saw him after he was just full of joy, just being back on the sidelines again. And it was even I have no ties to Texas or North Carolina, but just watching his post game interview just like brings a smile to my face about it. Like seeing him back on the sideline just feels right. Like feels like he's just a true football coach, and just seeing him, do good things, bringing after North Carolina's terrible season last year, bringing him out and bringing a neighboring state rival game and winning that game. I'm excited to see what he does as an encore.
Yeah, I think that the Mac Brown team, Greg Robinson, who is the head coach of Syracuse, took them to new lows in their and Mac Brown hires him as the defensive coordinator because they were together at Texas. Such an unpopular hire. He had to punt on Greg Robinson and bring a new defensive coordinator, and I think that's kind of what made the difference there in South Carolina. So, all right, hey, 7:30 time slot. Give me one more, just real quick, Bo. What do you got in that 7:30 time slot if these games just aren't cutting it?
Yeah, if these games just aren't cutting it, I think the Michigan State game will be kind of one to look at.
Sparty ripe for an upset?
It's tough to say. I really just don't necessarily. I don't know what Michigan State team we're going to get at this point.
Okay.
I think there could be an upset there. I think that there's an opportunity. I want to see more from them, in all honesty. I just don't feel like, if you go back a couple of years, they've had some success. They've also had some big failures, obviously. But I still remember I went to the Cotton Bowl when Alabama just beat the ever-living snot out of them. And it was
shameless plug.
Shameless plug. Gotta bring it back to Alabama. But I want to see him do well because I feel like there needs to be a little bit more rumble rumble over there. I feel like we've got the perennial Penn State, we've got OSU,
Yeah.
Michigan and Michigan State have just kind of been beating each other up to kind of see, all right, well, who's going to be next best, and I want to see them kind of step it up and do well.
Got it.
From a Big Ten perspective, I think Michigan State is going to disappoint this year. I would not be surprised if this game is a one-score game late in. I think Michigan very nearly had their defense outscore their offense. Bottom. Their offensive turns were definitely not a one, unless they make some major changes. Western Michigan's better than a very interesting game to watch.
Yeah, sure. Hey guys, you don't have to stick around until the end of the week to get our hot takes. We've got a lot of stuff going out there on our social media feeds. Check out the at From the Stands. From the Stands US is the name, and so check us out there on Twitter. Engage with us. Send us your questions. Let us know what you're thinking. Give us the feedback on the show. We'd love to hear from you. So we got one other really big SEC game that. Bo, why don't you tell me about Arkansas and Ole Miss in a last chance U? Why? So this might be the last chance for both of these programs here.
Yeah, I mean, with Ole Miss losing last week, it's really going to be difficult, I think, for them to find 6 wins if they lose to Arkansas here. I think that, they've obviously got a couple of cupcakes on there, but even then, I don't necessarily know that they'll be able to beat some of these cupcakes. California, I don't know if they can beat Cal right now. I don't.
Sure.
I mean, Cal didn't look terrible in their opener. I mean, they didn't look great, but they didn't look terrible. Mizzou, I don't necessarily think Mizzou is going to be a walk in the park for Mississippi.
Let's do this. Let's run through. I'll run through these real quick. You just tell me win or lose. All right. So we'll go Southeast Louisiana.
Right. Probably a win.
Yeah. Cal, what do you think? Lose?
I think they'll probably lose.
Bama?
Obviously going to lose that one.
Yeah. Vandy?
I think Vandy could pull that one out.
Okay. Missouri?
I think
we'll give them a win against Missouri. No. I'll give Ole Miss one right there. All right, and then you got A&M and then Auburn. So those are two more losses.
Definitely losses.
New Mexico State. I think, dude, that's
We'll
that.
find that one out
SEC
this
November.
week.
That's the wedding weekend there in November. The SEC.
Yes, it is.
And then Mississippi has LSU. I think that's another. And then Mississippi State. So getting down to Mississippi. What do you think about that one?
Honestly, I would pick Mississippi State in that game. I think that Mississippi State still has some talent that they're not necessarily utilizing as well, and I think that by the end of the season, they'll really kind of pick it together and kind of get it done. So I'd probably long shot for Ole Miss to win that one, in my opinion.
Yeah, sure. So that right there is 8 losses. So if Mississippi wins this one, they've got 4 wins, and then maybe you flip a coin on Mississippi State or Vanderbilt. So really, we're really stretching for 6 wins here for Ole Miss. So just kind of highlighting how vital this game is. Arkansas is not that much better. They're looking at Bama, Auburn, LSU. They're in the SEC. Then they get Missouri and A&M from the Missouri and A&M, both of those at home. But gosh, even still, it's hard to find 6 wins for either of these programs, especially without winning this game.
Yeah. I think that ultimately, if you're looking at Arkansas, San Jose, they could probably beat. Colorado State's a maybe, in my opinion. Kentucky, they can probably beat. Western Kentucky, they may be able to beat. I think it may be a little easier for the Arkansas Razorbacks to find 6, but they really got to win this game too.
Yeah, JJ, what do you got?
Yeah, I really, this is a must-win for either. I don't think either their job this year. But if you don't make a bowl game this year, because both coaches are in year 2. So if you don't make a bowl game this year, it'd be 2 years. Neither. You're going into year 3 on the hot seat. You're going into year squarely on the hot seat. Because to be honest, both these teams would consider a bowl game this year a success. But you go 2 years in a row without making any real progress, you're not going to see a lot of support from boosters, especially down. You want to try and see out, but for both these guys, I'm not seeing it. They're going to really struggle to get there if they don't win this game.
Yeah, guys, and I just want to highlight here this Matt Luke picture, the official picture. Guys, this is supposed to be the CEO of your program, and this guy, I don't even. This is not a good picture. Yeah, he looks like his nickname would be Cheezers. If you had a buddy nicknamed Cheezers, this is exactly what I would expect him to. And so let's blow that up, get that real nice and big over. My gosh, that is Matt Luke is a hell. Matt Luke, if you're a friend of the show, Matt Luke, if you're watching. And you want to come on, and I'll take a new picture for you. Give me the sports information director at Ole Miss. We'll have you on the show, and you can tell us all about this great Cheezers pick you got for us, right? So, good night. Hey, so best last chance you, and I think this is a big game. So definitely tune into that one. What time slot is that one in? I think that is in the 7:30 slot.
Yeah, that is the evening slot. Yep.
Yeah, so kick over to that one if these other games aren't doing it for you. And so getting through last chance you, that takes us to the weekly PAC12 seconds. Who wants to take the PAC12 second week?
JJ, I think you got this.
Yeah, I got it.
All right, JJ. Yeah. Yeah, you know the rules. Oh, well, let me start it off. You're not getting any extra seconds. This isn't not like the Big Ten where they have 16 teams over there. You're not getting a second free. So you know the rules. You've got 12 seconds to squeeze in as much Pac-12 as you can. So your Pac-12 seconds begins.
All right, we got Washington and California as a conference game this week. We'll see Washington deal with California's defense. And we got USC, Stanford. Stanford win without KJ Costello at quarterback.
All right, and that's been your Pac-12 seconds. So, hey, if you want to sponsor the Pac-12 Seconds, there's one great way you can do that. Head over to our Patreon page. We've got 2 tiers right now. The first is a $5 tier. We'll give you a shout out in the shows, and we'll have it on the credits as soon as we start publishing credits. And then we've got a $10 tier, and this is pretty cool because here's what we're going to do for our $10. We're going to take all of our $10 tier people. We're going to throw their name into a hat, and we're going to pull one out, and we're going to have you record whatever you want to say within, some reason. If you want to give a shout out to your brother-in-law for his wedding, if you want to, trash talk your rival, if you just want to get on here and sing Boomer Sooner for about 15 seconds, I will throw up for the entire thing, but we're going to allow it. So head over to our Patreon page. We're going to have a link on the and what we'll do is you get in on that $10 tier, and we're going to pick one out, and you could be right here on the show on From the Stands. So sounds pretty good to you guys.
Yeah, it sounds pretty nice.
Yeah, JJ, maybe you can get like your mom or your grandma or someone to be that $10 tier, and she can just come on and tell us how good of a job.
I would love that. That'd be great.
Hey, maybe we can get more Pac-12 on the that little 15.
No, that I think that would
that would go on
right there.
Yeah, that would go under the not allowed portion. That'd be too much. That'd be too much.
And so this is what makes a lot so difficult to talk about, right? Because everyone's so used to a certain conference after. But I want to know what else do we have in that 10:30 slot. So I'm going to lead us off. My shot for the 10:30 slot is Minnesota Fresno State. Minnesota is still my pick in the Big Test, and they're going to go to Fresno State, where I think their offense is going to be where Minnesota's offense is going to be too much for the Bulldogs to handle. They didn't look that good in their close win over South Dakota State, but Rashad Bateman, the receiver there in Minnesota, gives me a lot of hope, especially after that really great catch he had on 3rd and 13 in that game to score the touchdown. Just that amazing one-handed grab. If you haven't seen that, check it out. But I don't know. What do you guys think here in this Minnesota-Fresno State matchup?
Yeah, well, I think you're wrong on one. Minnesota's got the horses this year, and I think
you're not gonna row the boat. You're not grabbing oar, man. We're going. We gotta go.
I'm not high on Minnesota this year at all. I think PJ Fleck's actually doing a very good job, but I think that you're talking about a team that they were very close to losing that game last week, and arguably probably should have lost that game against South Dakota, and now they have to travel across the country to go play Fresno State, who looked very good against. They very easily could have won that game well.
But they didn't.
They didn't. But USC is arguably more talented. And now Fresno State gets Minnesota at home. So Minnesota currently is a 3-point favorite. I would lay the 3 point for Fresno State. Give me those 3 points and give me Fresno State to win outright.
You're putting somebody's kid's college education on here. So if you feel that confident, go for it. Bet JJ's picks appropriately. What do you have for the chaser there at 10?
Yeah, I've got the UNLV Arkansas State game. UNLV's coming off a pretty big win last week, and Arkansas State lost to SMU. So in my opinion, I think UNLV is going to be able to pull it out. In fact, I'd probably give them. I'm not sure what the line is, but I'm pretty sure I'd probably give them a touchdown and a half, maybe.
Yeah, no love for the FCS.
Yeah, I think that UNLV's probably got a pretty explosive defense or offense here, and I don't think that Arkansas State's going to have anything to answer for that. And so I think
I got to correct that right there. Arkansas State is not FCS, are they? They're so yeah, no G5 love for either G5. One. All right, okay. What do you think? What do you got in that?
I got UNLV by probably 10, if not more.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, that's those are shots and chasers to get you through the day. If we can throw that graphic back up, let's recap those real quick. Of these games, if you're only watching one, which game are you watching tomorrow?
If I can only pick one, I'm watching BYU because I think it's gonna be, I think both teams are going to be that bad. Like you just can't look at what they did in one and just not think that it's just going to magically get better. The only thing you can say is one team is actually just that much worse than the other. But I think they're both going to be. I think it's just going to be an ugly, ugly game to the point where it's actually comical.
Yeah, neither team is going to win this, but somebody's got to lose it. So I think we will all be the losers for sitting through this football game. What about you, Bo? What are you looking at?
Obviously, I've got to watch the A&M Clemson game. I watched the A&M Clemson game last year. I was on the edge of my seat pretty much the whole time. I think it's going to be pretty close. I think that A&M is going to be able to do some things and just kind of give Clemson a little bit more of a test here. I want to see Lawrence step up and kind of do his thing. It didn't really look like he did his thing last week. So I really kind of come in and do what he normally does. Whereas he threw interceptions last week. He looked a little shaky. I want to see him knock off the rust, and I want to see A&M give him a hard time.
Sure. Yeah, you're not going to have this problem. You're set up. What do you got? You 4 screens set up?
Yeah, just about. I'm going to be watching pretty much all the games, so I'll at least have 4 on at one time.
Yeah, well, make sure you save one to go check out the Twitter feed. We're going to have some live analysis, hashtag analysis throughout the day. Come to the football state for the meet. But yeah, check out our Twitter. That's @FromTheStandsUS. Follow us there. Engage. Give us a hard time when our takes are getting a little too hot. Follow up on some of these picks that we've made throughout the day and hold us accountable. Don't let us. I went 0-4 in the first week, and you guys sent me to a PAC12. So, hey, Sunday morning when you wake up, what's going to be the top story on ESPN, JJ?
For me, it's going to be someone is going to lose double-digit underdog. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's either going to be Week 1 darling Auburn against Tulane, or it's going to be Michigan State against Western Michigan. It's going to be one or the other. One of those is going to be our double-digit loss of the week. I'm fairly. We're going to have one, and that's if we have an upset that big, that'll be our storyline. And if I had to pick one ahead of time, to be fair, I wouldn't have picked Tennessee losing to Georgia State, but I would pick one of those two teams to be the team that is on the wrong end of a loss. Yeah,
I'm going to put that one on the board and expect your come up and if that doesn't happen. So if you want to pick a hill high, that's a pretty steep one. So we're going to hold you to. Oh, Sunday morning when you wake up, you look at.
I'm going to be looking at where Tennessee's looking for a new coach. I think Tennessee's going to lose to BYU pretty handily. And I think that they're going to be kicking Pruitt to the side, and I think they're going to be already searching. So that's my hot take.
Gosh, but guys, I don't know if my heart can handle another Tennessee coaching search. You remember that from 2 years ago? Like 17 candidates. I think JJ was a candidate for head coach at one point.
Here's the problem. Fulmer's the AD, and so Fulmer's going to pick Fulmer's guy, So it's got to be.
Who's Fulmer? Who do we have in the? Do we have anybody in the Fulmer coaching tree? Is that T. Martin? Is he coming home?
I don't know. But Fulmer just is always. He's very hands-on with those coaches, and he's somebody who's like-minded. I think so. It's one of those things where I think Fulmer's going to find somebody who he really likes, and I guess he thought it was Pruitt, but. I don't think Pruitt was ready for a head coaching job necessarily.
Yeah, I tell you, I don't know which way this one's going to go. I'm looking forward to finding out if Texas is finally back or not, so we can just know one way or the other. Man, I'm so torn on this game because as much as I'd love to see Texas get embarrassed at home, a small piece of me really, really believes Oklahoma State's going to come into Austin and win for the 6th time in a row in Austin. And so I kind of want them to be a top 10 team when that happens. And so I think that's going to be what I'm most looking forward to Sunday morning when I wake up. All right, gentlemen. Well, hey, a couple of housekeeping notes here. Be sure to follow us on Twitter. Check this out on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and take care of that now. You made it all the way to the end of this, so you might as well subscribe to see the next show. Looking forward to a big week next week. A lot of big games to look for. But until then, we've got a full slate of Saturday games. If you really like what you see, go ahead and check us out on Patreon and see if you want to be a patron of us there. I remember we've got those 2 tiers. $5 gets you a shout out on the show or in the show. $10 will let you read almost whatever you want here on the air. And until then, this is Will JJ from the stands signing off. Thanks a lot, guys. It was a great time.
Cheers. Yeah. Nice talking.
Awesome time,
All right.
guys. Always great.
All right. See you later.
See ya.